What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have got a lot to talk about in the next hour. You do not want to miss a single second of this video. The first thing we have to address, we're going to be jumping in and looking at some charts, but all coins are pumping, but few more than KASPA. Of course, KASPA, one of the fan favorites here in the Investing Bros community, is not only up over 15% on the day, but is breaking / flirting with some key resistance right now. Are we going to break through? Is there going to be a pullback? We're going to be taking a look at KASPA hovering at around 12 cents at the moment. We'll talk more about that here very, very soon. We also are going to be diving in with all of the news, talking about something that's going to get a little bit spicy potentially. There's going to be some different opinions in chat. I don't know if there's going to be different opinions amongst our talk here, but recently there has been some negative thoughts towards the concept of Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin, of course, the president of Russia. We're going to actually kind of chew on that for a little bit. Of course, recently we always love to piss someone off. We said, why not the commies today? Let's piss off commies today in the Investing Bros chat. If you guys are about that, smash the like button. Also, we have got an interview from a good friend of ours now. We met down in Naples, Florida. Daniel will be joining us, and we're going to be talking about some Bitcoin mining and a company that he is a part of that is making it easier and more affordable for the everyday individual to continue to make money mining Bitcoin. I cannot wait to get into all of this, but before we do, I got to throw it over to my daily co-host, Mr. T. Shroom from down there in Gainesville, Florida. T. Shroom, how are you feeling today?
Tim, I'm feeling better than I deserve. We've got our great opening, flawless intro, and I'm loving every minute of it. Ooh. Tim, I've got a great quote for you today. It is not so much what happens to you as how you think about what happens. Another banger from Epictetus coming in and never leaving us hanging.
That's a good one. It's not so much about what happens to you as much as you think about what happens. I mean, that's absolutely true. Perspective is absolutely everything. Maybe that'll tie into our closeout today a little bit later. I'll have to let you continue to wait and see what happens there. Before we get too deep into it, though, our guest is with us. He's going to ride with us through the TA, through some questions, through news. Again, we're going to talk mining towards the end, but I do want to introduce our special guest for the day, Daniel, a.k.a. I think all of his friends call him Danny. Do you prefer Daniel or Danny?
Yeah, usually Danny. What's up, boys? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you. Real quick, before we jump into everything, tell us a little bit about yourself. Again, we're going to talk more mining towards the end, but where are you coming to us from? What is your history in crypto, just so people get to know you a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Danny Condon. I am Chief Revenue Officer at Blockware Solutions, coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado. Got some great snow this weekend, so loving that. My crypto journey has been, really started in about 2017. Mostly, primarily follow Bitcoin. Help run a Bitcoin mining as a service company. We'll talk more about that as well. Yeah. I got into 2017, kind of like number go up. I did a lot of work, 2020, and been working full time in the space for about 3 years. So excited to jam on a variety of topics, guys.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great one. Again, like I said, we met Danny down in Naples, had a great conversation. Very excited about the product that they have. Again, allowing individuals to mine. We'll talk more about that later, but let's talk, T-Shroom, a little bit about, while staying in the world of mining, there's a proof of work coin going nuts right now. Let's go over to my screen. KASPA is flirting with new high levels for this week. We are at a resistance right now. Let's back it up. Now, this is something to keep an eye on right here. Positively, we literally minutes ago here on the hourly chart had a take profit. The take profit level was sitting right here. It just reprinted, meaning KASPA is so bullish right now that on the hourly chart, we're moving the goalpost of the take profit. It's not slowing down. I do want to show you we are massively overextended right now while the Neo Cloud continues to rise. With it, you'll see here the red reversal band on the hourly chart is struggling to keep up, drastically moving to the upside. I did notice we have done this a couple of times, and those have marked the tops. But of course, the big question is this another move on the hourly chart in kind of similar to what we saw back in November, October area where we were going parabolic, or are we seeing another top coming in here? You'll see some increased volume coming in. Obviously, volume, we talk about this a lot. Volume marks one of two things. It's either the confirmation of the move to the upside or it's the reversal. Now, this volume started to come in below resistance, so that's a good sign. This was heavy momentum flowing in here. However, there's still some hesitation happening right here, especially as you start to move to higher time frames. Let's turn off Lux for just a second. You guys know charts are always brought to you guys by Lux ALGO. This is a long-term resistance line that is going all the way back to the high of November 19th. We are still in this, and we have to see how the rest of the day closes. It doesn't matter that we have one candle kind of sitting right at that resistance level. Ultimately, there's a decent chance we could pull back, especially when you start to bring in some of our oscillators. Now, what I'm looking at right now, we have a red reversal, and we are sitting at 100% overbought here on the 4-hour chart. These are things to keep an eye on, but like I said, the reason why some of these things keep moving is because right now the money flow has just crossed positive. It's starting to hesitate for a second here, but we need to keep our eyes definitely on that. We're well within our take profit at the higher end on the 4-hour chart. Like we said, the 1 hour just moved, but 4-hour, I believe even the 6-hour, we're in our take profit. 8-hour, we're within our almost to our take profit. We go a little bit higher, but we're well within our reversal bands. How much higher can we go before this reverses? Now, we've had some interesting chat in our members only Discord, in our trading group. This breakout is happening, and there's some levels above us. If we keep breaking out, keep your eyes around $13. If that doesn't hold, all the way up to 14 could get very, very interesting. What we're kind of looking at right now, if we had to look at this perfectly, I do believe we're going to see these levels be hit in the next couple of days. The bullishness, even though we're seeing reversals, signals happen, the bullishness is going crazy. So here's how you would trade this. I want to go and just break this down for everyone, and you want to continue to wait and see what happens. Either A, we're going to reject right here. This is a little bit of a fake out, and we're going to drop to some lower levels. More than likely, some of those levels we could probably find more on the hourly chart, maybe down to the equilibrium, maybe even all the way back down towards the 10-cent range. But ultimately, you're probably actually even looking right here in this level. You're either looking for a break down, so this is a fake out, and you're looking for a lower level to buy. Again, even on the hourly chart, equilibrium coming in close to 11 cents, but the closest order block all the way down at 10.3. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. We want to hear coin price go up, but this is a normal move that potentially you're going to want to long that one and wait a move for the upside. If we continue bullishly, though, if we do see that move potentially up to $13, $14, watch for a pullback. Again, very rare that you break through resistance without some sort of a retest. So if we see price go up, don't FOMO in. This is the big temptation that a lot of people struggle with. They see breakouts and they wait too long and then they enter too high. You want to wait for a retest and wait for a retest of this support level or at least close to it and then look for confirmation. If we see that, now all of a sudden we're looking for some sort of entry here around the 12-cent mark and then riding that profit, again, probably up closer towards 14 cents. I do want to caution people on too long-term. Again, if you want to buy and just hold for the long-term, 12 cents is a perfect buy level. Go ahead and do it. But if you're thinking, man, I'm going to ride along all the way up to 20 cents, even the weekly chart, let's go up here where we're starting to the only levels. Let's see, we don't have enough time frame here on the weekly chart. Let's go to the daily chart. Daily chart, you still see some resistance here around that 14, 15 cent zone. Again, remember, hourly chart, massively overextended. 4-hour chart, we're flirting with resistance, maybe even stretching it. But daily chart still shows a downward trend. Since we hit this top, we got overextended. It would be a very clean rejection just to bounce in here to 15 cents, get rejected to 15 cents, and move to the downside. And even here on the daily chart, I want to show you guys money flow is still, now it's working on potentially changing its mind here, but I still want to caution you guys long term. I want you guys to be, look at that green dot on the weekly chart. That's good right there. But I want to caution you on being too bullish for too bullish of longs. What I hate to see is when people enter trades and you get up to levels like this and they're just convinced, no, we're going to 20, and then the price keels over and you were sitting in such nice profit up there. You could have taken profit, but before you know it, price is hovering back down. Remember, long term, as we turn off kind of some of this noise, there's still some levels. Oop, you have the wrong chart right there. Got to get rid of my dot. There's still some levels below us that are interesting for a lot of reasons. We have not tapped this untapped resistance since we broke through it. Again, we're talking about levels potentially as low as 5 cents. I think more realistically 6 cents. So we're going to retest this trend line rather than retesting this price action. but we have not come even close to this level. Something to also keep your eyes on. Let's just give the bears a moment. Even though we're bullish right now on KASPA, notice a formation right now. We've seen several bounces off of the 9 cent, 10 cent range, right? Well, every single time we've set lower highs. And as bullish as this is right now, again, we're up 16% on the day, I do believe. Yes, 16%. We are not higher than the wick right here on January 11th, which did come up and touch 13 cents. If we break to the downside, this is a descending triangle formation. This would send us downwards, and let's take a look at how far we would go down if that were to happen. That would put us right back down close to, if not a slightly below, this red level of rising former resistance, but potentially it's time to turn that into support. Again, somewhere in the 6 cent region for KASPA. So keep an eye on that, but it is extremely bullish. Continue to wait and see, though. Do not FOMO in or FUD out of trades. Wait for confirmation signals. And again, if you're struggling to know what you should wait for, check out the Lux ALGO indicators. I made a video last night. Go check it out with a great trading strategy that has been killing it in my trading game with more than 80% success rates when you're using this strategy. That strategy is one that's going to prove well here. You got to wait, be patient, wait for confirmation, and that's how you make the money long term. Now, we're going to do some more TA later on in the show. Oh, thank you for that T-shirt. Yeah, that's the video right there. Number one trading strategy for massive gains. That's the TA for right now. We'll do more during the Q&A section, but we're going to transition now into some news. Cannot wait to hear what it is, T-shirt, because at first this morning, it's kind of boring. It was a boring day, and then all of a sudden, things started popping off. Cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Can't wait to hear Danny's thoughts. And then after that, we'll get into some mining talk. But T-shirt, why don't you take it away with our news of the day?
Absolutely, Tim. Well, I'm going to make this quick because it's really not a ton of super big news, but on these quiet days, MicroStrategies likes to sneak up and buy $37 million more Bitcoin. So it's just the average day for MicroStrategies. Just business as usual, acquiring quite a bit. Now their holdings are up to 190,000 Bitcoin, which is very impressive. We did a lot of more calculations today on how MicroStrategies, leader, Michael Saylor, how he would actually become the world's first trillionaire. Go and watch that video from 9 a.m. this morning if you want to learn more about that. We had a ton of fun, and it was a very funny show. Going into the next story here, stocks climb wall of worry with S&P nearing 5,000. This is the market wrap-up kind of our bond coverage here. Bond auction happened today. The U.S. government sold a record $42 billion of 10-year notes Wednesday at the lower-than-anticipated yield, a sign of investor confidence that the Fed will pivot to interest rate cuts this year in response to a growth slowdown. The notes were awarded at 4%, compared with a when-issued yield of about 4.1% moments before 1 p.m. New York time, the bidding deadline. The lower yields indicate stronger demand than traders anticipated. So that, of course, is going to be baked into the rest of the trading week. Probably, my guess is that's not going to have a huge effect on crypto markets. And then we also have another bond auction for the 30-year notes coming out. I believe it's tomorrow. Correct, Tim?
Yeah, it's coming out tomorrow at, I think, 2 p.m. And in case anyone's knowing, this isn't our area of necessary expertise, but what we're seeing communicated, if you go to my screen here real quick, look at the timeline of what we've seen, bullish and bearish price action. Again, kind of somewhat negative sideways action in crypto and other places all throughout these months. But look where we peak and then look at the downfall of the 10-year treasury notes. Look at the date of that. October 19th. What happened back on October 19th? Crypto began to pump. Bitcoin pumped, altcoins pumped. And then we come over here to December. We get here to the end of December, and the 10-year notes start to go back up. But what happened right there at the end of December, early January? Crypto began to take a little bit of a tumble back down. And so what's happening right here, the reason that coins are going high today, we're also seeing the stock market go high. I mean, we're still continuing to hit new highs for QQQ, for the NASDAQ, for the S&P 500, for Dow Jones. A lot of people thought that we were heading back up and to the right, but what we saw was it came in a lot lower than expectations. It looks like we're kind of steadying. In technical analysis, we call this a double top right here, ladies and gentlemen, and it looks like we're moving back down to the downside. And again, especially after that 60 minutes interview that Jerome Powell had, where he kind of insinuated that he doesn't think they're going to lower rates, but then also said the way that we're going is not sustainable. This is causing a lot of people to believe that he's continuing to talk out of the wrong side of his body and that he is going to be lowering rates at some point early this year. Let's take a look real quick, T-Shirt. Let's see if CME is reporting anything different. Give me a second to get it up on my screen.
I'm tracking.
All right, we can go to it now. March, we're here now. March, 81% saying we're going to stay paused, right? So we're not necessarily seeing the CME futures predictors say that we're going to get it in March. But last we checked, May is still sitting well over 67% saying there's going to be at least one rate cut, 11% saying there's going to be two, and then that just continues. So this is not what Jerome Powell is saying with his mouth, but the CME futures predicting tool is still saying, guys, when we're looking at these numbers, if we're going to see the economy stay afloat, we're going to need to see Jerome Powell and the Fed counterparts go ahead and start lowering rates quickly. That's massive. In this situation, massive bullish news for crypto. Historically, that's been bearish for the stock markets, but in this case, it's actually going to be bullish. Danny, do you have any thoughts whatsoever? Do you follow the futures rates and everything else?
Yeah, a little bit. One kind of interesting point that I think Jay Powell made in the recent interview was he's kind of saying the quiet part out loud when he talked about the fact that the U.S. dollar and the continuous increase in our debt is not perpetually sustainable, which I think a pretty decent contingent have been saying out loud for a while. But it's wild to see, effectively your monetary policy, setter being this is kind of sketch, right? So I think, but you're right. I mean, there's no option right now. There's no option if you look a couple quarters ahead. We're going to have to get looser monetary policy, right? We're out of options. So I think that he's really kind of just saving face right now. He's been very hawkish and, going for the soft landing and so on and so forth. And, in some regards, he's actually been successful in that. I mean, we are at all-time highs in a lot of the traditional markets. Unemployment is still relatively low, which is his primary mandate, and the economy hasn't broken, right? So I think it's kind of an unpopular opinion to say he's actually kind of doing a good job, but he's I think there's a lot of bark there right now, and at some point you're just going to have to loosen the policy.
Absolutely. That you made a lot of excellent points in there, and it is an unpopular opinion to think positively about Jerome Powell. I think the thing with Jerome is that he's done an excellent job at driving a car that sucks, right? Keynesian economics is just bad, right? It's been a nice experiment. It has led to a decent amount of prosperity around the world, right? But now we're seeing that late stage Keynesian economics is very bad, debt-ridden, and ultimately we don't have a solution for it other than Bitcoin, right? But so I personally think that Jerome, by taking that 60 Minutes interview, I think he's actually defending his personal professional legacy because he's reading the tea leaves. He's seeing that the United States government and the Fed have kind of painted itself into a corner that there's not really a known solution for. And so, I think he's kind of going on TV and saying, "Hey, look, guys, this isn't sustainable. It might seem like I'm pretending like it's sustainable, but the other side of the house, right, the legislatures, the fiscal policy, I'm doing my monetary policy, and I'm freaking killing it. Thank you very much. But when it comes to the fiscal policy, you guys are driving us off a cliff, and you can't take your foot off the gas." So I think he's trying to defend his personal, professional legacy. I think that makes a lot of sense, but he's also not blind to the truth, which you got to give him credit for. I think he's showing some true colors here, and I'm liking those colors, right? But he happens to still be driving for he's still driving in a race car that I hate.
It's true.
Well said, man. Great analogy.
Real quick, T-Shirt, we're going to keep going on with the news here, but people are pointing out in chat, Bitcoin over 44,000. Really quickly, just go to my chart. We're going to go right back into the news.
Oh, wow.
Just want to show people.
There we go.
Over 44,000, pumping. Of course, we were in this triangle. We have broken bullish. We're hitting some resistance. Remember, we've been watching this value area high that just recently moved down to 44.8, give or take. So still have resistance above us, but look at Bitcoin pumping. We'll have to come back to that later. It is still time. We got to get through some news here. But Bitcoin, very, very bullish today. Again, I think the 10-year Treasury yields news has been very bullish for the markets.
Right, and it was tough to interpret. The market,
Yeah,
especially the crypto side, is not sitting there knowing every single thing about bond auctions, right? So the fact that that kind of seems like it got off without a hitch, the indexes trade higher. There's a bid on all three indexes to the upside. I think, the crypto is kind of like, okay, all clear, risk on, right? I think that's the way it's being interpreted. Not so much risk on for our boys over at NYCB, which has been halted today for volatility after falling more than 60% in 2024. So keep in mind, this is the bank that got essentially custodied Signature Bank. So Signature Bank, remember, was going. It was I think it was. I'm not exactly sure how all this bankruptcy proceedings take place, but essentially the government was like, "Hey, NYCB, New York Community Bank, you are up to go ahead and custody this failing bank, Signature Bank," and now just a couple months later, I think about 6 months later, now NYCB is getting halted on the exchanges because it's down to the tune of 60% in 2024. So, this could be another reason that Jerome Powell came out and spoke on 60 Minutes, because he knows that the regional banking crisis is far from over. It doesn't seem good for certain parts of the economy. Corporate real estate definitely taking a shellacking, regional banks taking a huge shellacking, right? The stock market, though, just keeps going higher and higher. My Microsoft bag keeps going higher and higher, and it's very nice to see. But there's plenty of stocks out there that are suffering because for a variety of reasons. So I don't know, if you're gonna stay in stocks, continue to own the big tech companies. In my opinion, the ones that are they're too big to fail. Ooh, how about that for a throwback? All right, we got a tweet here from Fred Krueger. Unless you guys had any comments on the regional banking crises, but it's just kind of another note in a fairly predictable fallout of the Western financial system. Fred Krueger said, IBIT is the number 5 ETF out of 3,109 ETFs for 2024. $3.2 billion US dollars has been allocated. And note, it only started as of January 11th. The ETF had been approved on January 1st. It might be in the third position. So take a look here. You can see you've got IVV, VU, IV. These are all very traditional, pretty conservative ETFs. IBIT number 5. That's very, very impressive, and very much appreciate. Eric Buchanas. You can't go a single episode of a crypto live stream without mentioning Eric Buchanas, and also Fred Krueger bringing that to our attention. Very appreciative of that. And then our last story here. Maybe you've heard of him. He's got a little bit of a name out there in the media. Tucker Carlson set to interview someone else you may have heard of, Vladimir Putin. So that's going to take place, and there's all kinds of crazy headlines. Tim, what do you think of this interview? Is this something you're going to be tuning into, or is this something that you're boycotting because Tucker Carlson is a traitor?
Yeah, very interested to see what happens here. Very interested to get your thoughts on this too, Danny. And we won't go too down the rabbit hole, but ultimately, what we're looking at here is nothing concrete yet. Let's make sure we set this table correctly. Why are we even bringing this up? Well, first of all, this is going to be an interview that could have one of, if not the highest amount of views a video on the internet has ever seen. More than likely, we will see heavy censorship on certain platforms. I'm not going to say names. I just don't need to say those names, but I think we all know which platforms are likely to allow it to go and which platforms are going to try to censor it. But what's even more concerning is you have rumblings within the U.S. that this should be considered treason by Tucker Carlson for interviewing a war criminal. That, of course, would be Putin. Interested to hear what you guys think about that one. But there is some strong rumblings from political figures in Europe about potentially banning Tucker Carlson from ever coming into the EU. He'd have a travel ban. He could not come anywhere close to them. This is no matter what your thoughts are about Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin, let's just start with the obvious. This is a massive violation of freedom of speech for a journalist to interview someone that people don't like. What are your thoughts? Let's start off with you, Danny. Again, don't want to put you in a corner, but what are your thoughts about the news, what's happening over there in Russia?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fresh. I'm still kind of digesting, but, personally, I think Putin's a bad guy. Personally, I think Tucker's probably engagement farming. That said, I think that freedom of speech is one of, if not the most important value that we as Americans and just free nations share, and that should be protected. And nobody should say, you can't do this, you can't do that, because freedom of speech equals freedom of information, and freedom of information is freedom of knowledge. It enables you to make more informed thoughts and opinions. And I'd kind of put it to like, am I interested in watching this? Am I going to watch it? Yes, because I'm interested in that information, right? Just like I'd want to see Kim Jong-un be interviewed, right? Like
Right.
I want to see other people's perspectives, and I don't think any authoritative body should be able to opine on whether or not that is, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Tishan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar. Just kind of echo everything Danny just said, and it's post enlightenment here, guys. We don't silence people. Like the best way to go against our ideas that you don't like isn't to silence them, because they'll eventually get out. There's so many examples of that from 2023, right? And from 2020 during a pandemic where there was a lot of covering up going on, and the truth eventually came out. Why are we trying to do this again? Like, I don't think that Vladimir Putin really has something to say that there aren't arguments against. So when he says those things in this interview that we don't agree with, whether that be like me on Investing Bros, or whether that be someone working for a mainstream media outlet, don't try to silence Vladimir Putin. Listen to what he's saying and show where he's wrong, show where his thinking is skewed. And after all, there are, I believe it's the UN that has labeled him a war criminal, right? But that doesn't mean that he's not still a leader of millions of people, and even more hearts and minds bought into his rhetoric and his mission and his vision for the world. We have to understand, and this is it's so interesting because it's really belittling to the general population of the earth, or in the West and America, to think that we can't, if someone's not curious about what Vladimir Putin is thinking at any given time, that they can't go find a blog post being written about it. Anytime that his speeches are published online, there's going to be a flurry of media that's going to cover that through the internet, believe it or not, through the device you're watching us through right now. That's not difficult. But this is going to be a big moment. Is Tucker a traitor? Absolutely not. I don't think there's really anything that he could do to be a traitor just by going and interviewing somebody. I mean, Danny, you mentioned Kim Jong-un, someone who's, even more objectively a war criminal, right? Someone who's just really, really bad, the villain of our time, right? But just interviewing someone isn't bad. Sitting there and maybe gassing them up and being like, yeah, we hate the West. Like maybe that starts to edge into a little bit closer into something that could be convictable. But even then, no, it's not. Like it's just speech. Speech is important. It's got to be heard. If you try to silence it, you're the bad guy. Right. That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Again, there's no defense you can give for Putin. I mean, no matter what you think about him, there's things he admits to doing that we would say, all right. It's not like we're just stories have been made up and there's propaganda that's saying that Putin has killed these people. That stuff's just true. It's happened. It is what it is. Putin is not a good person. Yeah. And I will never defend him as a person. But I do believe every single person has a right to speak on things. Even this concept of saying that Tucker Carlson should be, travel banned in the UN and potentially treated like a traitor in the United States. There have been journalists who interview war criminals over and over and over again. Many Americans have gone and interviewed Kim Jong-un. Many Americans have gone to terrorist leaders from ISIS, terrorist leaders from some of the other names. They've been interviewed by American reporters. Like we send journalists over there to listen to them because you'll never understand your enemy if you don't even get to hear what they have to say. If you just fight someone because they yell something nasty, you have no idea why they're upset with you. That makes no sense in the first place. But here's the thing about freedom of speech. It's ironic that we are talking about silencing the voice of the Russian president when, we're talking about 60, 70 years ago, Russia, who used to be the USSR, the number one threat to the American world because it was a communist nation looking to censor and get rid of people. Now we're saying, don't listen to them. They're evil. We can't let them speak at all. And you have to understand freedom of speech. It's really nice to say freedom of speech. Let the innocent people speak. Let the good people speak. Don't silence the young and the opinionated. But then you have to extend that to the criminals. You have to extend that to bad people. Otherwise, you cease to have freedom of speech. Now you have limited speech. You have censorship. When one centralized entity is the one who deems what's acceptable and what is not, even if they're 110% correct about what they allow people to listen to, they're still violating freedom of speech. So it's a no-brainer to say that Tucker Carlson should absolutely be allowed to interview Putin. And here's the great thing. You guys kind of highlighted this, but I'll just wrap it up. Same thing. Listen to your enemies. Listen to people you disagree with, because worst case scenario, you find out why they're so wrong. You listen to them incriminate themselves. You listen to them say terrible things, and you can say, all right, now I really know why I don't like this person. But best case scenario, and I'm not saying this is going to happen with Putin, but it has happened with other people. People who are deemed wrong or evil get to finally speak, give their side of the story, and you might accidentally find yourself agreeing with that person. But you would never know unless freedom of speech is respected and upheld, and anyone, no matter what their past looks like, is given a platform to be able to speak their mind. Now, I've seen some people in chat here kind of saying, like, there's other better people to interview. Interesting opinion. I would disagree. I think, again, the reason why this is going to get potentially hundreds of millions, if not a billion views, is because this could be the most interesting person in the world right now to hear their side of it. And we have not. Like, I mean, we get to hear everything that CNN and Fox says. We get to hear everything that everyone in the EU says. But when was the last time we actually honestly got to hear the take of Vladimir Putin that wasn't fed to us through a funnel of the US government system? We're not allowed to hear what he thinks unless it's run through their checks and balances first. I do believe Tucker Carlson is going to allow him to be unfiltered, say whatever he wants to say, and then we get to deal with whatever he says and have our thoughts about it. And we'll probably address that later on when it actually happens. But you got to let it happen for freedom of speech to be upheld.
Yeah, absolutely. If the First Amendment gets violated, the Second Amendment's the only thing there protecting you from tyranny. And we absolutely love it. Well, speaking of maximum force, Bitcoin is extremely awesome because it's transferring and converting energy into Bitcoin. And that's exactly what Danny does for a company called Blockware Solutions. And that is what I've got pulled up here. This is Blockware Solutions, their website. So, Danny, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of an intro to kind of what you do and what you're excited about going into 2024 about Blockware Solutions?
Yeah, bunch to unpack. I figure we can kind of bounce the ball back and forth here a little bit. But Blockware Solutions, our core business is Bitcoin mining as a service. So what that means effectively is that we sell ASICs that mine Bitcoin to individual and institutional investors. We own and we provide co-location hosting services for those ASICs. So we've got a hosting business as well, which enables effectively turnkey, capital efficient investment that provides exposure to individuals and institutions that don't want to go build a data center or can't plug in miners at home because their energy is too expensive or they're too loud and you can't do it at scale, you don't have the space, so on and so forth. So we effectively enable folks to get access to Bitcoin mining in a very simple capacity. And then one of our, we talked about this a lot, guys, and we were in Florida together when we met. One of our kind of breakthroughs, I mean, I think Bitcoin mining as a service is pretty novel as a concept as well, but one of our breakthroughs is we have a marketplace that enables our clients to buy and sell rigs that are plugged in turnkey hashing, which what that does, it solves a lot of the very common challenges to mining. In my opinion, the biggest challenge there is that Bitcoin mining and really any sort of crypto mining for that sake it's a pretty illiquid investment on your CapEx side. So having the ability to sell rigs, buy rigs that are plugged in it basically opens up liquidity for a previously completely illiquid reasonable size CapEx type investment. Solves a lot of transparency challenges as not all rigs are created equal, so exactly what you're buying or what you're selling. And then it also eliminates lead times, right? I mean, lead times ebb and flow, but anybody who bought rigs in November, December, or October 2021 bought on a 4-month futures contract, right? So we're solving a lot of problems, getting a lot of great reception, and kind of changing the way that folks look at Bitcoin mining.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Now we're gonna have to go into here, chat. If you have any questions, the Q&A section can kind of start, but let's focus questions for now towards Danny. But I want to help even explain some more, because this is what's really cool stuff. Obviously, a lot of people, you can go buy a miner, take it to your own home, set it up to your electricity. If you have good electricity, you can do all of this. But it's getting really hard for the retail investor to do that. The cost that goes into it, as Danny's kind of laying out, there's just not a lot of retail investors looking to sign up to become miners themselves. And it's vastly important. If you guys appreciate Bitcoin for what Bitcoin is, it is vastly important that companies like what Danny is running here stay alive to keep retail investors mining Bitcoin. If mining Bitcoin becomes nothing but what institutions and governments do, that is when potentially we start to question, is Bitcoin truly decentralized? But if we continue to have, go ahead, Dan. Yeah, pick up on that.
No. Keep going, man. I've got a couple.
I'm just saying, like that is what will keep us. It's not just hold Bitcoin in your bank account. I mean, the other thing we talk about, guys, is with BlackRock and Fidelity and all these ETFs trying to gobble up as much Bitcoin as possible. What is one of the things that will keep Bitcoin from going completely into the hands of whales and institutions? It's if individual people like you and me are mining. But again, that comes to the problem. Can you afford it? And what's really cool, Danny, about Danny's company is that they take out a lot of the hardships that keep people from getting into the mining rig. So pretty much this is what it is, Danny. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have to buy an actual machine. You guys at your space have amazing electricity costs. You know the right rigs that have the best bang for your buck. You have a marketplace that I can go in and I can buy a rig that you will house, you will operate, you will use your cheap electricity, but that's my machine that I'll pay you guys for the electricity, but ultimately I get the rewards. And I know we were talking with your cohort, it was like on average people are paying based off the machine $150 a month for electricity, and they're netting close to $250 to $300 worth of Bitcoin every single month. So it's an easy investment. And then the cool thing is, the minute I say I'm done, rather than me having to worry about going to find someone else to buy my old machine, I put it on your marketplace. You guys get the other seller, and that takes away all of my concern about that upfront cost of a machine. Did I get it right there? Is there anything I'm missing?
Yeah, I think that's very, very, very directionally accurate. One correction, and then I'll even take a step back here because I see a lot of good questions. I can provide some context. You're buying this machine. It's your machine. You own it. The market's efficient. Pricing is generally correlated with the price of Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And more specifically, hash price. So there's a factor of what is global hash rate look like at any given time. But maybe just to take one step back here, because I see a lot of good questions. The concept is like, how to get exposure to Bitcoin, right? So there's a number of different options you have. You can go buy Bitcoin, right? You're purchasing Bitcoin through an exchange at the spot price at any given time, right? Or you can, buy Bitcoin exposed, Bitcoin correlated equities. I saw a question here about Riot and Marathon. You can go buy, equities with dollars, and then you have effectively I look at that as kind of high beta proxy exposure to Bitcoin, right? Now you can go buy a Bitcoin ETF, which is actual, proxy exposure to Bitcoin price action, right? Yeah. Or you could go mine Bitcoin. And without, a company like Blockware, mining Bitcoin is just frankly not practical for retail individuals because they're loud, they're noisy, and you're not working with industrial energy, and energy is 95% of the cost, the operating expense of mining Bitcoin, right? So I think that, it's very reasonable to have a combination of different exposures, but what you're doing when you're mining Bitcoin is you're effectively arbitraging energy using Bitcoin as that arbitrage vehicle, right? So I am on an operating basis, right? There's a CapEx on the front end to buy the hardware. And then that CapEx is liquid now because you can sell that machine, at a market dictated efficient price Machine prices go up and down, just like Bitcoin goes up and down. But on an operating basis, you are effectively paying an energy bill. That's your cost. And
Mm-hmm.
you're deriving X amount of Bitcoin, right? And the economic incentive that, is why anybody mines Bitcoin is because of that arbitrage opportunity. So if you say, hey, you're able to buy $44,000 Bitcoin right now at 22, 23, 27, $34,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's better. Well, better is a relative term, but Bitcoin mining enables you effectively to purchase Bitcoin constantly on a dollar cost averaging basis by making it at a discount to the spot value. All right. So I'll stop.
Uh-oh. Well,
Uh-oh.
we're
Right in
losing
the
him.
middle.
But he said he was going to stop there. That it all makes sense to me. Hopefully his connection will reconnect. I mean, essentially, retail. Yeah, we lost you there for a second, Danny. But I'm going to give my take here. Is
Yeah,
essentially
we got some good questions in chat. So after that, we'll get.
yeah, we do. Essentially, retail. Mining for retail was not really a consideration anymore. Like you never hear the investing bros talk about getting into Bitcoin mining, even though we would be a prime candidate to be educating people on Bitcoin mining. It's because it's just not practical anymore because there are so much more powerful miners out there that are owned by larger organizations with a high level of competency in Bitcoin mining. What Blockware Solutions is able to do is take that organization and that high level of competency and basically open the doors to retail. Say, hey, retail, it's not completely free. You have to buy the miner, right? And then you also have to pay the electricity bill, but you are going to enjoy the rewards, and retail can come in and actually mine again. Now, the real big benefit here too, the big innovation that I see with Blockware is that liquidity aspect of the actual mining market. So, right, if you've ever tried to go on eBay and sell something, it's not super easy to figure out exactly what the going price of something is. Especially if you've never done Bitcoin mining before, you're going to be a sheep in a whole pack of wolves. You're not going to be able to figure it out. Well, what Blockware is doing is they're coming in and saying, hey, we fended off the wolves. We're good shepherds. We're going to be able to protect you while you go in and make this investment and mine Bitcoin, which is what Satoshi wanted and envisioned everybody to be able to do. So I know we talked before how you guys are first to the market with this innovation. It's exciting. I'm sure there will be other businesses that are able to try to replicate this in the future. But right now, as far as I know, and you could update us on this, Danny, you guys are the only ones doing this, right?
Yeah, we're the only ones that have a turnkey. Well, so what? There's a couple different novel factors to this. Mining as a service, we were certainly pioneers in that space. Now there are other companies that offer, at face value, similar services. So it's important to look at. I mean, Bitcoin mining is all about mitigating risk effectively. And a big risk when you don't want to do this on your own for practical reasons is counterparty risk, right? So we've been around since 2017. We've been doing this for a while, one of the pioneers in this space. So I'd like to think we're, a very good partner there. As far as the marketplace, we're absolutely the first folks doing this. So if you want to check it out, marketplace.blockwaresolutions.com. Rigs, everything that's listed there are client rigs that are for sale. There's a variety of different prices. And, we really think the market has responded to this being a game changer because I'll just make one more point here is mining has traditionally been looked at as a long capex, kind of lockup period on a, arbitrage, profitable dividend paying basis. You mine these, you pay X for a Bitcoin miner. You're arbitraging Y every second or every month, to use a time gap over a 2-year period. Your profit in your arbitrage strategy exceeds what you paid on the capex basis, and then the rest is gravy, right? Now that original investment theme is still intact. You don't have to sell your rigs. You don't have to exit the trade. But now you have the option, but not obligation to do so. So you can kind of play, you can have your cake and eat it too a little bit as well. And it also opens up a number of different strategies around like currency arbitrage. I buy Bitcoin miners that are priced largely in US dollars when Bitcoin rips because I have more buying power. I sell Bitcoin miners when, that are priced in dollars when Bitcoin dumps a little bit, because for my personal strategy, my strategy is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can, as fast as possible. So if I can pull my ROI forward by selling my mining rig, for a 20, 30, 40% premium to what I bought it at, paid in Bitcoin, that's a huge win for me because I'm pulling my ROI forward by like 2-3 years. Right. So there's all sorts of different strategies you can play. And the do nothing strategy, let it rip and collect your, constant dividend, is a good strategy at the baseline.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well,
Piper had
we
a
got to
great
get
question.
we got to get into these questions. And of course, this is the question everyone's going to ask again. Great product here. But how much does it cost to get into this is Piper's question. And he will have a follow-up. Let's just camp out right there. First of all, thank you, Piper, for the super chat. But great question. Danny, I am sold on you. I want to buy. What's my process? What do I need to pay up front? What does it cost me throughout the whole process? And then when I'm done, how do I get out of it? What does this all cost look like?
Yeah. So there are not all rigs are created equal from an efficiency standpoint. There's kind of two factors to this. So number one is the terahash computational power. That's effectively how much Bitcoin, are you deriving per machine? You want that to be maximized. The other side of this is the cost side, which is, how much does it cost per terahash computation? The net is that every machine has, a net efficiency, right? And more efficient machines equal more profit. More efficient machines are going to have a higher, top line, cost, if you will, right, to acquire. Now, you can go buy, let's say, like kind of slightly legacy generation machines, which would be like at present, now we are going into halving, right? There's some things to take into consideration, like an S19J Pro, right? You can buy one of those on the marketplace for, probably like $800. I'm dollarizing all this. You can dollarize Bitcoin, bounce back and forth. Now you have a little bit of risk there for the halving. And if Bitcoin, doesn't rip, that you might be carrying a slight loss for some period of time, so on and so forth, because markets, again, are efficient. On the higher end of the scale, you can buy like an S21 or an S19K Pro for, $6,000. And that's going to be, very halving proof because you're going to be competitive for the long run. It's got a lot of upside. And the way to think about then the, kind of perpetual value of these machines, you can go buy, it's kind of like buying an in the money or out of the money call, right? If I go buy a legacy hardware asset, like an S19J Pro, it's like I'm buying I'm out of the money on it's a low premium call option on Bitcoin, basically, right? Because if Bitcoin rips and we're at $100,000, that $800 machine is going to be yielding, $300 a month, and it's going to be worth $4,000, and you look like a king. But if Bitcoin doesn't rip, then you might be carrying a loss. Now, the other way to look at like a K Pro or an S21 is I'm deep in the money. I'm still pulling that spread on my carry, right? And I still have, a beta correlation with Bitcoin as Bitcoin price increases or decreases, but I have a higher floor and theoretically a lower ceiling there, right? So, I mean, that's a long explanation, but I think, my advice would be you kind of look in the middle of that spectrum. So you're looking on the marketplace, things like S19K Pros are great bang for the buck right now. The S21s are, next generation future rig that becomes available, around the end of this month into March. We're going to have like 1,000 of those for sale. And guess what? These rigs S19J Pros were $12,000 a pop in November of 2021. You can buy a S21 right now, which is like over 100% more efficient for $6,000. So relatively speaking, as we tell ourselves as Bitcoiners all the time, zoom out, baby, right? Like this stuff can rip.
Yeah. So
now,
there's, I was just going to say a little bit there. So there is a little bit more, if you're just a Bitcoin trader, right? Or you're even a hodler, there is probably another hour and a half of research that you need to get before you start actually seriously considering doing this. But I've looked into it. I've had the luxury of being able to talk directly to Danny, who's obviously extremely involved here and very knowledgeable. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm feeling pretty close. It's very interesting. But definitely do your own research here. It's very exciting, but it's not just trading. There's more going on here, and you are getting into a little bit of a different field than just trading and investing. But it's an exciting opportunity. Tim, what were you going to say? We've got some fireworks in the chat as well.
Yeah, well, we got to give a shout out. So Shannon Fowler in chat, super chat, saying, when will Tim accept fate and shave his head? Then he says, don't ignore me, you Bitcoin shill. When shaved head. And then he stirs up one of the other instigators in the chat, Dave Digital. Again, thank you for all these super chats, everybody. Thank you for supporting. 10K subs. Tim gets a t-shirt style haircut. All right. Listen, here's the thing. First of all, Shannon Fowler. Shannon Fowler is an old friend. And he's actually texting me even right now. He's just out here causing chaos. That's why we love him. Shannon, you know that if it was up to me, my head would be shaved this very second. But unfortunately, one of the consequences of committing to a lifelong marriage is somebody else comes into your life and they make your decisions for you, especially if they're female. And that is the situation I'm currently in, where
Brody
I have
gets to be bald, though,
dictating my hair. Yeah. So thank you for all of that. What I was going to say, coming back into the mining, Danny, this is the cool thing again, getting to talk to you down in Naples, though. Because before, I love what you're running through here. Ultimately, to answer the other question, I know there's a long answer, but he needed to give a long answer. You could probably go, there's machines you probably have for sale that are like $2,000. There's probably machines you have upwards of $10,000. You kind of referenced, hey, there's a really good option right now, best bang for the buck. That one's sitting somewhere close to around $6,000. But here's where I think a lot of people get freaked out. Because again, $6,000 up front, that's a big chunk of change. And if you did that, you brought it to your own home, now all of a sudden you're responsible for the reselling. You have to stay up to date with what's the best option to do it, versus with you guys, because it's going to stay at your facility and because you have the best, you have your finger on the pulse of the price action, you have a marketplace. The minute I am done mining, like let's say I mine for an entire year and I'm like, man, I'm walking away. I got a fat stack of Satoshis now. I don't want to mine anymore. I want to sell this machine. Is that a long process that I have to wait and gruel, or do I just put it up there and say, hey, I'm done, I want to sell this, and I can sell it right back into your marketplace?
Yeah, so it's a very simple process, but it is there's a buyer to each seller, right? In this capacity, we are a marketplace. We're effectively like a Bitcoin mining rig. We're a dividend paying asset, if you will, exchange, right? So what we see is that if rigs are inefficiently priced to the downside, right? Somebody's undercutting the market by a meaningful percentage, which is typically around 5% or so. So those things get snatched up immediately, right? Yeah. And the efficiency of the market is based on Bitcoin price, based on difficulty. That's where the pricing goes to. But yeah, short answer, man, super super simple. It's all through one portal. All you do is go in and you click sell, you set your sell price, and then a buyer comes in here. We also have a bid functionality too. So anytime somebody bids on a rig that you own, if it's under your asking price, you're automatically alerted so you can meet that ask, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of cool dynamic capabilities that we have in there to facilitate rig trading, right? I mean, our thesis is that Bitcoin mining rigs are just commodities. Commodities are some of the most liquid markets in the world, except this is a better commodity because it pays a constant dividend, right? So, I mean, net strategy is what we see the sweet spot is buy rigs now, right? They're well priced, mine them for 6 months and reevaluate, right? Because if you can go sell something that you're generating a 35% APY on for the exact same price that you bought it for, that's just gravy. Right. And you're getting paid in Bitcoin. So theoretically, we're hodling at least our profit that we're mining. And that theoretically increases in value as well.
Yeah. Which was part 2 of Piper's question. He did pay for this question. So let's say I have this, I purchase a miner on the marketplace. I'm aware it does not ever leave your shelf, right? But I am entitled to be able to turn around and sell it. right? Without your permission, I can sell that on a marketplace, just like I can sell Bitcoin on a marketplace. And then I'm also entitled to the Bitcoin that is mined, right? So where does that go? Do you all custody that wallet? Do I get the wallet? How does that work?
Great question. So for the first one, yes, we are a service provider. You are buying these machines. You own these machines. You want to sell the machine, you sell the machine, right? We're just providing a platform that enables that opportunity. As far as the Bitcoin mined, again, it's your machine. We're actually not custodying any Bitcoin, right? So you buy a machine, it's in our marketplace. It's in our interfaces. You can see, the revenue it's driving, but you're putting your wallet address in there, and that Bitcoin is mined directly to your wallet. So we are not taking custody of your Bitcoin. We're not taking ownership of your machine, right? So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I have an exotic question I just came up with. Is
right
there a call? Can I call these miners? Like, meaning, can I say, hey, Blockware, can I come in and pick up my miner and take it home with me? Is that something? Not that I would even be interested in that, because my energy costs at home are going to be astronomically more than your energy costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Practically speaking, like, there wouldn't be a meaningful catalyst to do so, but let's, hear it out for a sec. You sign a contract, 1 to 3 years. Your obligation is you're basically paying rent for a slot in our data center, right? So you are obligated to pay your bills for that period of time. And theoretically, you'd be extremely motivated to keep your miner plugged in. Practically speaking, we have to pay to go build these slots out. So if somebody wants to take their rigs, like, I can go resell the space. So we're going to work with folks if that kind of situation were to arise. But by the book, you're signing a contract for a term, and that slot's yours for the term, and you pay your bills for that period of time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, cool.
Very cool.
Shannon Fowler is continuing to cause havoc in chat. We want to thank him for a super chat. Says your excuses are as bad as your TA, Tim. Shave it. I'll tell you what. And I'll ask permission to get this on reality. If we get to 50,000 subscribers before the end of 2024, easy. I will shave my head. We will video it.
Easy.
I'm sure my wife will allow that to happen, because hair does grow back, so that is a good thing.
Yeah, it definitely grows back, Tim. I can attest to that. Hair grows back for everyone all the time.
Yeah, right on. I can't wait to at some point in time hear the backstory here, but right on, Shannon. I'm on the shave your head crew. So
I mean, Shannon's in here rarely, but I have this sneaky suspicion he might become a fan favorite after the super chats today. Yeah. He has a way of leading people in chaos. By the way, I love Shannon. He has no political affiliation whatsoever. He's an anarchist. That just means wherever he goes, he wants to create chaos of massive demands. And I think there's a lot of people in our community who would follow him wholeheartedly into the abyss.
Now you're watching the show. You're like, man, Tim's TA on KASPA kicked butt. We got into the news. We've learned about this new awesome opportunity and got to talk with Danny about mining. But what about the factoid of the day? What about the factoid? And we've got it right here.
We're going to be running long, by the way, everyone. It's 3:59. We're going to run a couple minutes long today because it's been a great stream, and we got to take a look at Bitcoin TA here in a second. We got to do our factoid of the day.
Yeah.
And then we'll be wrapping up in probably the next 10
factoid
minutes.
Of the day, custom for Danny. What is the tallest mountain in Colorado? Is it A, Pikes Peak, B, Mount Elbert, C, Mount Sneffels, which is my personal favorite, and D, Castle Peak, which is the tallest?
I'm going to go process of elimination. I've climbed Mount Elbert. I do not think that's it. Mount Sneffels sounds like it's made up, so I'm going to eliminate that. Castle Peak. I'm going to say Pikes Peak, A.
I was leaning towards A, Pikes Peak, but I was going to default to the guy who lives there, so I'm going to agree. A, Pikes Peak. I don't know why you put a D there.
Well, because Danny and T.
Oh, okay. Danny and T.
Wrong,
all right, so you both have piled in on the wrong answer. It's Mount Elbert.
Dude.
And if you really looked close, you could have seen the Wikipedia tab here. Mount Elbert elevation is the highest summit of the Rocky Mountains. of North America, the highest point in U.S. state of Colorado, and is the second highest summit in the contiguous United States.
Maybe when you climbed it then, Danny, like maybe it's not anywhere close to a valley, so you just started like at such a high elevation.
Yeah.
Maybe it was shorter then. Maybe it wasn't the tallest mountain at the time.
Like maybe it's a small boy and it's still growing.
Yeah, exactly. Climbing 14ers is like a thing in Colorado. So, it's really just about reaching to the summit, irrespective of where you start kind of thing. And it was a bitch, don't get me wrong. But I was like, if I've done that, there's got to be a taller one. So I feel extra accomplished right now.
Now you can go and tell all your friends and impress everybody. You have climbed the highest mountain in Colorado.
Right on, guys.
Before we move on and do some TA here, Vito Nazo, another super chat. Thank you so much. Said, how much are the monthly fees or operating costs?
Oh, great question. So that varies again based on the efficiency of the rig, but right now about 20 to 25% less than the yield is the average, is one way to look at it. But for a hard number, I'd say the average is about $150 per month, right? And figure the average yield is about $200 per month. And that fluctuates with market movements. And I'm dollarizing this, right?
Makes sense.
Fair enough.
Makes sense. Well, let's jump real quick. We're going to wrap up the stream here in a second. Let's jump and do some TA really quickly. People have been going nuts. Bitcoin's still climbing. Let's take a look here.
Very nice.
Now, 4-hour chart. Let's take a look at what we have here. Again, I told you guys 44.8, give or take, is going to be the value area high in the fixed range volume profile. So keep your eyes on that. You're also going to see on the 4-hour chart, that's just scratching the take profit that ALGO has printed. People are asking, should we be shorting Bitcoin right now? Well, I'm gonna explain to you why possibly the answer should be no. We're gonna start here on the 4-hour chart. First of all, we're still under bullish momentum and the money flow is still positive. Now that's the 4-hour chart. We have bullish momentum going on. We have not hit our take profit. We are starting to see 36% saying overbought, but not necessarily something to freak out about just yet. Let's go down to the hourly chart, see what's happening. Hourly chart, we are 100% overbought. So this is where you're getting a little bit closer. We did just get a red reversal within this last candle. We are at the take profit, and we do have a little blue X that popped up there. What we do not have is two of the other things. If you guys watched my strategy video on how to trade, I want to see this oscillator keel over and see a bearish momentum dot. I also want to see the money flow not only moving negatively, but moving below the threshold. And we actually, within the last couple hours, have just crossed above the threshold, meaning this is superb bullishness right now. I'm not saying we won't have a reversal in the next couple of hours, if not the next couple of minutes. What I'm saying is we're not seeing the confirmation that this should be the top. Again, to me, I'm more looking at that 44.8 at this point, saying that's my price target. And then after seeing that price target, I'm looking for the reversal spot. But either way, you want to see more confirmation. Even when we come all the way to the 15-minute chart, 100% overbought. All right. That means possibly we're close. We did get a red reversal, but look at this here. Like this is why you want to wait for a confirmation of all three right here. Take a look at this oscillator. Red reversal, bearish divergence, bearish momentum dot. Oh, that's three things saying bearish. We should go negative, right? Well, the only problem is the money flow is still positive. The money flow is still at the threshold. If you had entered right here, you would have sold the top. Or sorry, sold the bottom. We would have bounced right there. You would have sold the bottom, gotten trapped out immediately. You want to wait for a confirmation of all three. Now we're back under the negative action of one, and it does look like the oscillator is starting to curl over here. We're definitely overextended. Like I said, RSI up at 80, but you want to wait for confirmation. Yes, we're at take profit. Yes, we have the blue X, but wait for confirmation. When the bulls are in control like they currently are, you could easily see the price continue to push up. And what I'm seeing is, yes, we've seen the 15-minute chart keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed. We've seen the hourly chart get pushed and pushed and pushed. What I'm kind of looking at is saying, all right, let's look for a reversal on the 4-hour chart to feel confident, or at the very least, let's see that trifecta of bearish oscillator action on the 1-hour chart before we're confident at taking a short position. The bulls are in full control right now. Don't try to FOMO in and long this by any means, but also don't try to, and this isn't catching a falling knife. This is more like, this is like trying to stop the elevator. I don't know what's the best way to analogy to even talk about that. Don't try to catch it. Look for the momentum to stop. Look for the reversal signs. A classic problem with traders that will make you A, lose money, and then B, get so discouraged you quit trading altogether is thinking you will get the perfect top for a sell or the perfect bottom for a buy order. That is not the name or the game of trading. You are looking for confirmations. You're looking for good levels to sell and good levels to buy. This right here is going to be a classic trap. It might be the top, guys. We might just move to the downside, but it hasn't confirmed that yet. But more than likely, we're going to see people get confused. Some people are thinking right now they're going to short it, just like they thought they should have shorted it back here. And because they didn't wait for the confirmation to come in, they ended up getting wrecked in their trades. If you don't want to get wrecked, take the word perfect out of your trading vocabulary. Look for good, wait for confirmation, and that's how you actually make money in the game.
Well, we've got a $10 super chat that was somehow gone unnoticed. Shannon Fowler chimed in.
Shannon, yeah.
He said, "Classic Tim, long-term predictions only." And then another $2 chat from
I think he's referring to the 50. We have to get 50,000 subs.
Right.
Yeah, that's a long. We gotta have that long. That's a big monumental place. We get to 50,000 subs, and then I'll shave my head. I feel like,
and that's 50. I saw Gustavo 50. Put 15x, 15. Not 15k.
50,000.
Yes. Poor Crypto Steve said, "Don't let them peer pressure you, Tim." And I'm on team Crypto Steve there. Thank you. Your hair is the best part of this channel. $2, another $2 from Shannon. He said the highest mountain is Tim accepting he's balding. So another slam, another just ruthless, not holding any punches back. Yeah. Shannon he's absolutely igniting the chat with fury and outrage. And I've never seen it like this. It's insane.
Listen, we might have to get Shannon to come on the show at some point so you guys can put a face to the name of the chaos. Danny, I want to thank you so much, man, for coming on, being a trooper. I know I got a message in chat. We probably could have conducted the whole thing better. We probably could have started off. I know you sat there probably for like 18 minutes. You just said hello and then sat there. So I do apologize, but thank you for staying with us, man. Love having you on here.
We had a lot of fun jamming in Naples. We had a lot of fun here. Appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully the insights were helpful. I'll just leave behind Bitcoin mining is the best way to dollar cost average, and now you've got liquidity on the play, right? Yeah. If you're long Bitcoin, there's no better way to take advantage. It's almost always outperformed just dollar cost averaging spot Bitcoin. I'd love to chat with folks and, put you in touch with folks from my team as well. So if you're interested, you could find us on email. You can hit sales@blockwaresolutions.com, or you can contact me directly, danny@blockwaresolutions.com. At any rate, we love to just share insights and connect with other Bitcoiners. Saw some good questions too. So if I wasn't able to get to them, feel free to fire over whatever directly. And I'm on Twitter, Danny Condon 1988.
Oh, nice.
Okay, cool. Right, no, Danny_Condon is my other account.
Make sure it gets right.
Got to get that underscore in there,
But exactly. This is definitely is far from the last that you'll be hearing from Blockware Solutions. More than likely, we'll be working on some more stuff together. But Danny, it was a huge pleasure. And now Putin's got a real tough act to follow when he's our guest tomorrow. So,
right on, guys. Peace. Catch you later, boys.
Guys, as we wrap up the show, again, go check out Danny's company. Go check out, if you're looking to mine, you found the exact right one. We're gonna put that link in the description and in the comments as well. I'm saying goodbye to you guys for about a week. I am leaving tomorrow morning, bright and early, actually dark and early. I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to get it to the airport on time to catch my plane. Heading to Maine for my yearly snowboarding trip with Taylor's family. Gonna be fun. Brody's gonna get to see snow for the first time. Cannot wait to see how that happens. But I will be gone until next Wednesday. I'll see you guys again next Wednesday for our live show. So you're in the great hands of T-Shirt. We have some great guests coming on for the next week. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button. As I close it out, though, as we always do, with motivational thoughts, how you guys can keep getting better, I want to urge you guys in this process to fall in love with the process itself of getting wealthy. No matter what you're trying to improve in your life, whether you're trying to get healthier, maybe you're trying to lose weight, maybe you're trying to gain weight, maybe you're trying to just be healthier overall, maybe you're at the right weight, but the food you're eating is just the wrong type of food. Maybe you're trying to get wealthier, maybe you're trying to increase your amount of friends. Embrace the process itself, because too many people try to look for shortcuts. If you want to lose weight, people want to think, well, how can I lose weight in 10 days? That's not the solution. If you want to make money, people want to say, how can I make money in this one trade? That's not the solution. If you want to have relationships, how can I make friends in one day? It's not the right solution. Ultimately, the reason you're having some sort of problem is because you have made habits in your life that are wrong for you. If it has to do with your health, you're eating the wrong foods, you're moving way too little. If it's in the wealth department, you are investing and trading and buying and selling all of the wrong ways. If you only embrace the end goal, you're never going to get to it. But if you embrace the road to get there, if you embrace the entire process, that is where lives get changed. If you need to get healthy, don't say, how much do I need to work out for the next week, or how little do I need to eat? What do I need to do for the rest of my life? If you're wanting to make $1 million, don't think about what's the one trade that's going to make me $1 million. No. What are the trade styles, the strategies, the movements that I can make over the next 15, 20, 30 years of my life that will continue to increase my wealth? Embrace your process. This is not a one-day trip. This is about creating a lifetime of healthy movements. Do that today. Love you guys. I will see you next Wednesday. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms News got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.